Oh God, my daughter's lower body was blue and I felt helpless. Oh God, if you are there, save her. I was raised atheist. God was not part of my life, my thinking, or my decisions. I grew up in the United States in San Francisco in a family that had a Quaker background but did not practice religion. Faith was never discussed seriously in my home. In school, college, and later in medical school, most people around me were also atheist. Professors, classmates, and colleagues believed that religion was for emotional people, not for intellectuals. In those academic environments, atheism was seen as the smartest and most logical way to live, and I accepted that completely. My life moved forward in a straight and successful path. I attended a strong academic high school, then college, then medical school. After internship and residency, I became a consultant ophthalmologist. I worked hard, earned well, and lived comfortably. I could buy what I needed and plan my future with confidence. From the outside, my life looked complete, and honestly, I was happy. I had always been in control. If I needed money, I worked harder. If I wanted something, I made a plan and achieved it. I had never faced a situation where I felt helpless, but slowly a quiet feeling began to grow inside me. It wasn't dramatic or emotional. I just started feeling that something was missing. I would look around at my success, my comfort, and my achievements, and a simple question would come into my heart. Is this all there is? I couldn't explain that feeling, and I didn't talk about it. I just felt that life had to be more than this, even though I couldn't say what that more was. Then the moment came that changed everything. My daughter was born with a congenital heart defect. It wasn't exactly the heart itself, but the main blood vessel coming out of the heart, the aorta. The condition is called coarctation of the aorta. At birth, her lower body was a dark bluish color. As a doctor, I knew immediately what that meant. Her lower body was not getting enough oxygen. Her body looked like it was slowly dying in front of my eyes. Standing there in surgical scrubs, looking at my own child, I felt fear in a way I had never experienced before. For the first time in my life, I was not in control. I couldn't fix this problem. I couldn't use my education, my skills, or my experience. There was nothing I could do. That moment broke something inside me because all my life I had believed that I controlled my destiny. Now I knew I didn't. The medical team asked me to leave the NICU so they could examine my daughter. I walked out without thinking. My feet carried me somewhere without my mind deciding. I walked straight to the hospital prayer room. I had never prayed seriously before, and I didn't even know how to pray, but my heart knew what my mind had ignored for years. I stood there and spoke directly, honestly, without any special words. I said, "Oh God, if you are there, I need help." I said that if he saved my daughter and guided me to the religion that was most pleasing to him, not most pleasing to me, then I would follow. That was a real promise, spoken from a broken heart. After about 10 or 15 minutes, I left the prayer room and walked back toward the neonatal intensive care unit. To enter, I had to wash my hands, wear a gown, gloves, a mask, and a cap. While doing this, I looked through the window into the room. I saw the doctors gathered around my daughter, and I noticed something had changed. They were looking at me differently. Their faces showed surprise and relief. When I finally entered the room, the pediatric cardiothoracic surgeon looked at me and said, "She's going to be fine." Even after all these years, I still get emotional telling this story. The doctors had their medical explanation, and that's fine. But in my heart, I knew something else had happened. They were not with me when I stood alone in that prayer room, asking my Creator for help. My daughter recovered completely. She needed no surgery, no medication, no further intervention. She grew up normal and healthy. You can call it a medical outcome, or you can call it a miracle. For me, it was the moment faith entered my heart, because I knew I had made a promise, and that promise now had to be honored. After my daughter recovered, life did not suddenly become easy or peaceful for me. In fact, the next few years were some of the most difficult years of my life, but not in a physical way. It was a deep mental and emotional struggle. I had made a promise to my Creator. I had asked Him to guide me to the religion that was most pleasing to Him, and now I felt responsible to fulfill that promise. But I did not know where to start, and I did not know what the truth was. For about 4 or 5 years, I lived in a state of constant searching. On the outside, I was still a successful doctor, still working, still providing for my family. But inside, my mind was restless. I kept asking the same question again and again. Where is the truth? I believed in God now. That much was clear to me. But belief alone was not enough. I needed guidance. I needed clarity. I started studying different belief systems. I looked into Taoism, Buddhism, and Hinduism. I read, I listened, I tried to understand their philosophies. Some ideas sounded interesting, some were thoughtful, but none of them fully answered my questions. Something always felt incomplete. My heart was searching for something firm, something clear, something that explained God, life, purpose, and responsibility in a way that made sense both emotionally and logically. Like many people in the West, I eventually turned to the Bible. I began reading the Old Testament carefully. Surprisingly, I felt a connection there. The concept of one creator, powerful and in control of everything, made sense to me. The idea of prophets, revelation, accountability, and moral law felt real and grounded. I could accept much of what the Old Testament taught about God, but there was still a problem. The Old Testament spoke about a chain of prophets and clearly pointed toward future prophets. When I studied carefully, I saw references to 3 major prophets to come. That left one very important question in my mind. Where is the final prophet? If God had guided humanity through prophets before, why would that guidance suddenly stop? As I continued my research, I came across discussions about the word paraclete in the Bible. Some scholars explain that this word could be connected to the meaning of the praised one, which aligns with one of the names of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. The word appears only a few times in the Bible. In one place, Jesus himself is called a paraclete, and in another place, he speaks of another paraclete who will come after him. This idea stayed with me. If Jesus was one paraclete and he spoke about another coming after him, then logically there had to be a final prophet. The description sounded like someone who would complete the message, not replace it. This idea strongly affected my thinking and pushed me to search further. At the same time, I struggled deeply with Christian theology. I could not accept the idea of the Trinity. The concept of 3 being one, co-equal, co-eternal, did not make sense to me logically or spiritually. I asked priests and pastors many questions. I asked them where Jesus clearly said, I am God, or worship me. They would point to verses, but none of them were direct. What troubled me the most was that Jesus called himself the Son of Man many times, but never clearly called himself the Son of God in a literal sense. In the Bible, many people are called children of God metaphorically. So why was Jesus treated differently? Why were people following interpretations instead of the exact words of Jesus himself? These questions remained unanswered. I kept turning back to God in my heart and saying, I am searching, but I am not finding. I believed God existed. I believed he was guiding me, but I still did not know where that guidance was leading. Then something unexpected happened. My older brother, who was never very close to me growing up, became Muslim. We were only about 2 years apart in age, but emotionally we had never been close. Strangely, it was only after Islam that we truly became brothers. At the time, I did not fully understand why. About a year after his conversion, my brother sent me a translation of the meaning of the Quran. Along with it, he sent me a biography of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, written by Martin Lings, based on the earliest historical sources. When I started reading these books, something incredible happened. Everything began to make sense. It felt like I had been holding a puzzle for years, missing a few key pieces. Suddenly, those pieces were placed in my hands and the entire picture became clear. For the first time in my life, I felt completeness. The belief in one God, the chain of prophethood, revelation, angels, accountability, and divine control over everything. It all fit together perfectly. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was clearly the final prophet. The Quran was clearly the final revelation. Nothing felt forced. Nothing felt contradictory. That was the moment I knew I had found what I was searching for. That was the moment I became Muslim. When I became Muslim, the strongest feeling I experienced was peace. It was not excitement or emotion on the surface, but a deep calm inside my heart. Many people around me noticed the change before I even spoke about it. They said I looked more relaxed and more settled, For the first time in my life, my heart and my mind were moving in the same direction. Simple acts like making wudu began to affect me deeply. The process forced me to slow down, to step away from the rush of life, and to remember why I was doing what I was doing. Washing before prayer felt like purification, not only of the body, but of the mind. Prayer became a moment of grounding, a reminder that my life had meaning beyond success, money, and status. But peace did not mean an easy life. After I became Muslim, my wife of 14 years divorced me. We had built a life together and raised children, but faith changed the direction of my life, and she could not accept that change. Soon after, the court system took my children away from me. Custody was given to my ex-wife, and the process was deeply unfair. The judge placed restrictions on me that made no sense, ordering me to stay 100 feet away from my own home and my own children. This happened even though my ex-wife admitted that I had never been violent, abusive, or threatening in any way. The only real difference was that I had become Muslim. The humiliation went even further. In order to see my children, the court required me to hire a bodyguard to be present, not to protect me, but to supposedly protect my children from me. There was no history of abuse, no danger, and no justification for this treatment. I lost almost everything. I lost my home, my wife, and daily access to my children. I lost property, including artwork worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. At the end of the divorce, I walked away with only my SUV and $5,000. Many friends quietly disappeared from my life, and then came the deepest pain of all. My parents disowned me. They sent me a letter telling me not to visit, not to call, and not to write. They removed me from their will and cut off all contact. In one period of my life, I lost my family, my stability, and my support system, leaving me with nothing but my faith. Despite all of this, I never regretted becoming Muslim. Islam gave me certainty, something nothing else had ever given me. Faith was no longer just belief. It was something I lived, something I stood by even when it cost me everything. Years later, time softened hearts. As my parents grew older, communication slowly reopened. And before they passed away, both of them individually accepted Islam and made Shahada. I pray that Allah accepted it from them. Faith does not promise comfort, but it promises truth, and sometimes truth requires sacrifice. Still, Allah never abandons those who remain sincere. After becoming Muslim, I was deeply inspired by the character of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. What amazed me most was not just his teachings, but how he lived. Critics say he sought wealth or power, but history shows the truth. He could have had anything if he stopped preaching Islam, yet he chose hardship and patience, purely for truth. Living in Medina, the city of the Prophet, made faith real for me. Walking its streets reminded me daily that true faith is built on sincerity, patience, and service. I had a dream that shaped my understanding of responsibility. In it, I was with the Prophet in a town like an old Western village. He pointed to the mountains and said, "Go to the mountains, go to the people of the mountains, because there is jihad in the mountains." I knew jihad meant personal struggle. I worried about my wife and child, but he reassured me, "I will take care of them." Then he gave me 2 jars of candies to deliver to the people of the mountains. I did not fully understand, but I knew it symbolized a mission I had to fulfill. Living in Medina, I realized the people of the mountains were those around me. My struggle was to live faithfully, serve others, and follow the Prophet's lessons. Life tested me many times. My daughter needed college in America, and I had to choose between leaving my mission or staying. The dream reminded me to trust Allah's care. Later, my wife shared a dream where the Prophet guided her safely, fulfilling the promise. This strengthened our faith and gave courage during challenges. I learned that faith is not just belief, it is living, trusting, and acting even when you do not fully understand. As a doctor, I saw reminders of Allah's creation in the human body, especially the eye. Its design, ability to perceive light and color, and connection to life amazed me. Science can explain anatomy, but it cannot explain the soul, the ruh, or how life begins. Attempts to recreate life always fail, showing life is a gift from the Creator. Every patient and every living moment reminded me of Allah's power and mercy. Despite hardships, divorce, losing contact with my children, losing property, and estrangement from my parents. I never regretted following Islam. Faith gave me inner peace and purpose beyond worldly success. Over time, my parents embraced Islam before their passing, showing sincere guidance reaches hearts even after long estrangement. Dreams, life in Medina, personal struggles, and faith taught me that true guidance comes from Allah, and real strength is living faithfully despite tests. Through every difficulty, I learned patience, perseverance, and reliance on Allah. Faith is a journey of the heart, mind, and soul. From my daughter's recovery to dreams fulfilled and family reconciliation, I saw that faith shapes life in ways logic cannot explain. Living in Medina and following the Prophet confirmed that surrender to Allah, trust in guidance, and dedication to truth bring peace and purpose beyond worldly achievement. Every challenge reminded me that life is more than survival. It is service, faith, and love guided by the Creator.